These are the Chinese boat manufacturers flooding American marinas right now, selling boats for 40% less than American brands, and the entire U.S. boating industry is scrambling to respond. Brunswick, Tracker Marine, and traditional American builders are watching their market share erode as Chinese-built boats land at dealerships across the country with price tags that seem impossible. How are Chinese manufacturers building boats this cheap? And can American brands survive when a fully equipped fishing boat from China costs less than a bare-bones model from Bass Tracker? Stick around because what is happening in the boat market right now mirrors what happened to American cars in the 1970s, and the ending might surprise you. The American recreational boating industry faces an invasion nobody saw coming, and Chinese boat manufacturers have entered the U.S. market with a strategy so aggressive it is forcing American brands to completely rethink how they build and sell boats. Price differences are so dramatic that some dealers are dropping American brands entirely. The numbers tell the story best. A 19-foot aluminum fishing boat from a traditional American brand like Lund or Crestliner typically retails between $28,000 and $35,000, and that is before the outboard motor, trailer, and electronics are added. A comparable boat from a Chinese manufacturer like Smartliner or Qingdao Lianya sells for $17,000 to $22,000, fully equipped with the same features. That is a price difference that fundamentally changes who can afford to own a boat, not just a modest discount. Chinese manufacturers are not just undercutting American brands by a few percentage points, they are selling complete packages for less than what American manufacturers pay just for raw materials and labor, and here is what matters most. These are not knockoff boats cobbled together in backyard shops. Established Chinese manufacturers with decades of experience, modern facilities, and aggressive plans to capture American market share build these boats. The story starts about 10 years ago when Chinese manufacturers began studying the American recreational boat market, and what they noticed was something American builders had stopped paying attention to. The entry-level buyer was disappearing. American boat companies had steadily moved upmarket, focusing on premium features, luxury finishes, and higher profit margins, while the average price of a new fishing boat in America doubled between 2010 and 2023. Chinese manufacturers saw an opportunity in the segment American builders abandoned. Around 2015, the first wave of Chinese boats entered the U.S. market quietly, mostly through small regional dealers looking for budget options, and the reception was mixed at best. Early Chinese boats had quality control issues, questionable welds, and components that did not hold up in salt water. American dealers who tried selling them often ended up dealing with warranty headaches and frustrated customers. The general consensus in the industry was simple. Chinese boats were cheap for a reason, and serious boat buyers would stick with American brands. But something changed around 2019 when Chinese manufacturers started investing heavily in quality control, hiring engineers from American and European boat companies, and upgrading their manufacturing processes. Companies like Smartliner and Bayliner, which is now owned by Yamaha and manufactures in China, began producing boats that met or exceeded standards from the American Marine Standards Association. The welds got cleaner, the components got better, and the fit and finish improved dramatically. What really mattered was that Chinese manufacturers figured out the American dealer network. Instead of trying to compete directly with established brands at traditional dealerships, they targeted independent dealers, RV dealerships expanding into boats, and online retailers. They offered attractive dealer margins, fast shipping, and minimal order quantities. For dealers struggling with inventory costs and slow-moving American boats, Chinese manufacturers became a viable alternative. Let's talk about why Chinese boats are so much cheaper, because this is where things get complicated, and the simple answer is labor costs. A welder in China earns a fraction of what an American welder makes. A Chinese manufacturing facility operates with lower overhead, less regulation, and cheaper materials, but that is not the whole story. Economies of scale give Chinese boat manufacturers an advantage that American builders cannot match. A factory in Qingdao might produce 50,000 boats per year across multiple models, compared to an American builder producing 5,000 boats annually. That volume allows Chinese manufacturers to negotiate better prices on aluminum, fiberglass, hardware, and components. Vertical integration gives them another edge that American companies cannot replicate. A Chinese manufacturer might own the aluminum extrusion facility, the upholstery shop, and the trailer manufacturer, while American boat builders typically outsource those components, adding markup at each step. The currency factor plays a role too. The Chinese yuan has been deliberately kept weaker than the US dollar, making Chinese exports cheaper, and Chinese manufacturers receive government subsidies and support that American companies do not get. The Chinese government sees boat manufacturing as part of a broader strategy to dominate global recreational marine markets, and they are willing to support companies that pursue international expansion. What boat buyers really want to know is whether Chinese boats are any good, and the answer is more complicated than yes or no. Modern Chinese boats from established manufacturers are significantly better than they were 5 years ago. If you compare a basic aluminum fishing boat from China to a basic aluminum fishing boat from America, the functional differences are minimal. Both will float, both will get you across the lake, and both use similar gauges of aluminum and similar construction techniques. The differences show up in the details where American boats typically use thicker aluminum in high-stress areas, and the welds on American boats are more consistent. Better quality hardware, more corrosion-resistant components, and features designed specifically for American conditions come standard on American boats. A boat built for the American market by an American company will have little touches that matter, like drink holders positioned exactly where American boaters expect them, storage compartments sized for American fishing tackle, and live wells designed for American fishing styles. These small design choices add up. Chinese boats sometimes miss these details in ways that matter. Cup holders might be slightly off, storage compartments might be configured oddly, and electrical systems might use metric components that are harder to service in America. These are not deal breakers for everyone, but experienced boaters who know what they want notice them immediately. Long-term durability raises the bigger concern. American boat builders have decades of data on how their boats hold up in saltwater, in northern winters, and under heavy use, but Chinese manufacturers are still building that track record in American conditions. A 5-year-old Chinese boat might be fine, but what about a 15-year-old Chinese boat? Nobody knows yet, because there are not enough of them with enough age to establish patterns. The service and support question matters too. If something breaks on your American-built boat, dealers and service centers across the country are familiar with that brand, parts are readily available, and mechanics know the systems. With Chinese boats, the service network is thinner, parts might take weeks to arrive, and local mechanics might not be familiar with the specific components used. This matters more in some situations than others. If you are buying a simple aluminum John boat, service is not a huge concern. But if you are buying a complex boat with electronics, hydraulics, and specialized systems, the service network becomes critical. What this Chinese invasion means for American boat builders is already visible, and it is accelerating. Traditional American boat manufacturers face a crisis they are not prepared for. Companies like Brunswick Corporation, which owns Sea Ray, Boston Whaler, and Lund, have seen their entry-level sales collapse. Tracker Marine, America's largest boat builder by volume, is losing market share in the aluminum fishing boat segment where they have dominated for 40 years. The American response has split into two strategies, and neither is working particularly well. Some companies try to compete on value by cutting costs and simplifying their entry-level models. Others double down on premium features and American-made marketing, hoping buyers will pay more for domestic products. American boat builders have cost structures they cannot easily change, and that is the real problem. Union labor contracts, expensive facilities, legacy pension obligations, and regulatory compliance costs do not apply to Chinese manufacturers. Even if an American company wanted to match Chinese prices, they literally cannot without losing money on every boat. The math does not work. Outsourcing production to China is what some American builders are already doing. Bayliner moved most of its manufacturing to China years ago, and other brands are quietly doing the same, building boats in Chinese factories but keeping American brand names. This creates a strange situation where American brands are actually Chinese boats with American logos. The dealer network is where you really see the panic taking hold. American boat dealers are stuck in the middle with long-standing relationships with American manufacturers, but they also need to sell boats that customers can afford. More dealers are adding Chinese brands to their lineups, even if it angers their American suppliers. Some dealers have dropped American brands entirely, betting that the future of affordable boating is Chinese manufacturing. This shift happens fastest at the entry level. Shopping for a basic fishing boat or a simple runabout under $30,000 means Chinese options are everywhere. Shopping for premium boats over $75,000 means American brands still dominate. How long that divide holds is the real question. Chinese manufacturers are moving upmarket, building larger boats, more complex boats, and boats with premium features. The $30,000 market is already disrupted, and the $50,000 market is next. The tariff situation adds another layer of complexity to an already messy picture. The US government has imposed tariffs on Chinese boats, ranging from 7.5% to 25%, depending on the type of boat and when it was manufactured. These tariffs were designed to protect American manufacturers by making Chinese boats more expensive. Even with tariffs, Chinese boats are still significantly cheaper than American boats in practice. The tariffs have not stopped the Chinese invasion, they have just slowed it slightly. Expanding tariffs or implementing quotas gets discussed, but the political reality is complicated. American boat dealers do not want tariffs because Chinese boats help them compete against big box retailers and online sellers. American consumers do not want tariffs because they want affordable boats. The only group pushing hard for tariffs is American boat manufacturers, who do not have as much political influence as they used to. What this means for you if you are thinking about buying a boat comes down to a few practical considerations. The price advantage of Chinese boats is real and significant. If budget is your primary concern and you are looking at entry-level boats, Chinese manufacturers offer compelling value. You will get a functional boat for substantially less money. Doing your homework matters though. Not all Chinese manufacturers are equal. Some have better quality control than others, and some have better US dealer networks than others. Buying a Chinese boat means paying attention to the warranty and understanding what it actually covers. Check if there are service centers near you, ask the dealer about their experience with that specific brand, and look for online reviews from actual owners, not just promotional materials. Resale value deserves realistic expectations. Chinese boats depreciate faster than American boats, partly because of quality concerns and partly because buyers do not trust them yet. Buying an American boat means understanding that you are paying a premium for domestic manufacturing, established service networks, and brand reputation. For some buyers, that premium is worth it, and for others, it is not. How you plan to use the boat, how long you plan to keep it, and how important service and support are to you determine the right decision. What happens to the American recreational boating industry long-term is the bigger question. Nobody knows the honest answer, but the trends are not encouraging for American manufacturers. Chinese companies have successfully disrupted the entry-level market. They are expanding into mid-range boats. They are investing in dealer networks and service infrastructure, and they are improving quality every year. American boat builders have 3 options, and none of them are attractive. Moving further up market and conceding the entry-level segment to Chinese manufacturers is one path. Offshoring their own manufacturing and becoming brand managers rather than boat builders is another. Finding ways to radically reduce costs and compete directly with Chinese prices is the third. All of them involve job losses and industry consolidation. What we are watching is the same pattern that played out in consumer electronics, furniture, appliances, and automotive components. Manufacturing moves to where labor is cheapest and regulations are lightest. Domestic producers struggle to compete, some adapt and survive, and others disappear. The American boat building industry employed 100,000 people at its peak. That number has already dropped significantly, and Chinese competition will accelerate the decline. For consumers, this shift creates short-term winners and long-term questions. Boats cost less now than they did 5 years ago, adjusting for inflation, and that is good news if you want to get into boating. But if the American boat building industry collapses, what happens to service networks, parts availability, and innovation? Chinese manufacturers are great at copying existing designs and reducing costs, but they are less proven at developing new technologies and pushing the industry forward. The invasion is already here. Chinese boats are in marinas from California to Maine, dealers are signing contracts, and consumers are buying. Whether Chinese manufacturers will capture market share in America is not the question anymore, because they already have. How much market share they will ultimately take And whether American boat builders can find a way to compete without sacrificing quality or abandoning domestic manufacturing entirely is what matters now. This is the new reality of American boating, where prices are dropping, but so is the certainty about who is building your boat and where it is coming from. Whether that is good or bad depends entirely on what you value, the lowest possible price or the long-term health of American manufacturing. Most buyers will choose price because most buyers always choose price, and that is exactly what Chinese manufacturers are counting on.